State Legislature to adopt provisions for truth in labeling for Hawaii-grown coffees. Request that the State Legislature schedule committee hearings, give floor consideration, and adopt into law provisions for truth in labeling for Hawaii-grown coffees. Reference Communication 998.2, introduced by Ms. Ford, approve AWE SC-15.
Move to approve Resolution 501-14, Draft 2. Thank you.
It's been moved by Ms. Ford and second by Mr. Kern. Any discussion, council members?
Yes.
Ms. Ford.
Thank you. Okay, we had an extensive discussion the last time, so I won't cover those issues. But I did get accused this morning of gutting and replacing, which is not true. I didn't gut the entire bill. And I would like to talk about the studies. Anytime the state legislature wants to kill something, they require an unfunded study, and it's dead for an indefinite period of time. So that's one of the problems that we have. And Mr. Corker, I'm going to ask you to come forward, please. One of the things that this particular person accused me of was adding the 51%, and that made it a minimum percentage bill rather than a truth in labeling. So let me comment on that. If you cannot taste the Hawaii-grown coffee, then the label using a Hawaiian regional name is deceptive. If to be able to taste Hawaii-grown coffee, the majority of the coffee needs to be at least 51% of the package, at least 51%. Now, there was also a comment on the SCR resolution that I alluded to with the help of Mr. Corker in the bill. And Mr. Corker, please identify yourself, and you can go ahead and comment on the SCR that was mentioned earlier.
I'm Bruce Corker. I'm a coffee farmer from Hilo, member of the Kona Coffee Farmers Association. SCR 102, passed by the legislature in 2007, is a lengthy document. It includes a number of factual findings in whereas clauses in the resolution. Among those factual findings is a finding that current labeling of Kona coffee causes fraud. The legislature has used the word fraud, made a factual finding that fraud is occurring because of the provisions of the current Hawaii labeling law. Unfortunately, the legislature has not acted on that factual finding, and it is our hope that the county council will prod the legislature to return to that issue.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Does anyone need to ask Mr. Corker any questions? No. Okay, thank you, Mr. Corker. Second, then, Oh, yes. Mr. Corker, would you come back? Mr. Iligan would like a question. I would like to yield so that Mr. Iligan can ask this question, okay. But I would like to get the floor back so I can finish my 5 minutes.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Iligan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Corker, I was trying to find SCR 102, 103?
102.
102?
Yes.
And then I ended up falling into SB 2913, and it talks about the whole fraud and geographic identity of coffee brewing or coffee origin. And do you know anything about SB 2913? Because I feel like it does address that, and that was just recently in like this year, I think in March.
I'm not familiar, at least off the top of my head, it would be Senate Bill 2913?
Yes.
Do you know the year?
It's this year. It is Senate Bill 2913. They had readings in March 17, and there's a bunch of testimony, and I believe they looked into the origin and also the quality, and it looks like they wanted to make sure enforcement covered those two concepts.
Okay, I think I know what bill this is, and it was a bill designed to make violations of coffee grading a criminal offense. And the position that was taken by the Kona Coffee Farmers Association was that what was needed was a return to the Hawaii Department of Agriculture grading and certifying coffee rather than the self-certification with criminal penalties. That just doesn't make sense. We should return to the system that was put in place after the Kona Kai scandal in the early 90s when Kona Coffee was counterfeited. They set in place the requirement that green coffee be certified by the Department of Agriculture before it could be shipped out of origin. That system was abandoned in 2013, purportedly for financial reasons. That's a system that should be put back in place rather than this criminal system with self-certification.
Thank you so much for your input.
Ms. Ford, you have the floor back.
Thank you. Another comment that was sent to us in public testimony, written testimony, commented that advocated strongly for study. So I've already commented on the reasons that you get unfunded studies at the state. It doesn't take a study when you have expert coffee tasters at Consumer Report magazine slamming our coffee, our locally grown coffee, and they got duped into thinking they were drinking 100% Kona coffee in this particular case, and what they had was a 10% blend of some nasty other coffee plus our good coffee. So you don't need studies to do that. You can read Consumer Reports, and it gave our coffee a very bad reputation, and it degraded Hawaii-grown coffees nationally and internationally. So you don't need studies when you've got proof in the media by experts. And then you've got, how about an 8-year-old kid that knows the difference between one bean and the other 9? I mean, it's just ridiculous. So I am asking the council to approve of draft 2. And because we had an extensive conversation on this last time, I'll leave my testimony at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Willie?
I want to bring attention to Hawaii's, there's a guide, value-added guide for Hawaii producers. It's called Adding Value to Locally Grown Crops in Hawaii. And I find it's a project written by Craig Elovich and Ken Love that I thought was exceptional, and it's guiding a number of things I'm working on. And they point to sort of that the consumer desire for honesty and more information, and that the way we can help, or one of the key ways we can help, is through the branding and identification. So I think they did a study. This is a study. I mean, read this. I mean, it's really a very, in my view, an exceptional report. So I felt, in terms of not having a study, that this really, it validates both in terms of the importance of labeling and identification, and also I'm not sure what the correct word is, but in other words, where you have that certain levels of identification of what percentage is in the crops, and using that to identify. A few months ago, I was in South Carolina visiting my daughter, and I went to the local Starbucks, and there on their big sign, they have a big picture of a volcano, and it says Kau Coffee, and it was their highlight. And I'm thinking, well, I wonder if this is a little bit of 10% Kau or more, and they were people talking about it. Oh, let's try this. And I never figured it out, but it brought to mind that I really had no idea when they were all saying this is coffee from Kau, is that, again, the 10% variety or the 100% or what. Let me say in terms standards. And if you say made in the USA, they do 100% or virtually all standard. In terms of Hawaii, the plan, or the way it most often is done, is that you need 51%. So we're just not even in line with either of those. And in fact, a lot of the reports focus on doing that. If you're going to say it's something, it should be 100%. So I just wanted to bring your attention to this study and really valuable report. Lastly, on Hawaii's tourism, it's not the Hawaii Tourism, it's the tourism agency, sort of focuses on our island as sort of the natural and being what do you say, that it's unique, and what is here, an identification with nature and agriculture. And so I just think all of this really does support it, and there's a lot of marketing studies that says these are important issues for adding value to our agricultural products. Thank you.
Mr. Kern.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I think it's the two issues. The truth in labeling is an absolute no-brainer, and I think the 51% makes a lot of sense too. And just having thought about it a lot from this meeting to the last meeting, and like what California is doing with their wine, and being a coffee drinker. And drinking the 10% Kona blend, drinking other blends, you really can't taste it. Now, for me, I drink coffee every day, every morning. I can drink my regular cup. It's fine. It's just normal. I drink 100% Kona coffee. I feel it. I mean, it's serious octane, and that's important. Now, that means, though, you could potentially blend it down to 51%, and some people would really love that, especially depending on what kind of other beans you bring in. Like for me as a coffee drinker, that would probably be right for me because I wouldn't be shaking. I don't think you need a study to prove that. I don't think you need a study to say what is right. If you're going to call it Kona coffee, somebody could say, I have a tropical blend, and they could say, I have X amount of Kona, I have X amount of whatever, but they're not calling it Kona coffee. When the gentleman brought up that package that said Kona coffee, not even Kona blend, I was having trouble with that, and that to me seemed like it was a violation of federal law, and that just isn't right. So, to me, this is a no-brainer. You don't need a study. We should protect our research, our product, which is different than Kona Brewery. It's beer. You could have it anywhere. You know what I mean? A Kona coffee, though, is so unique to this area and to this region that we need to protect that. And this is absolute no-brainer. And I don't think it's too big of an ask. I just hope the state listens to us and it makes sense. So I yield. I support this.
Are there any other comments or discussion? Mr. Kanuha.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I couldn't agree more with all the statements made previous. I just would like to also say to those that are watching and those that were in the crowd, this is just a resolution urging the state legislature to do something about this. This isn't a binding resolution upon our county because we don't have the authority to do this. So, again, to those that will watch this in a few weeks, this isn't going to be law if this does pass. This will just take it to the legislature to say that this is what the Hawaii County Council wishes to do and wishes for you to do in the state legislature. Whether they do anything or not, that's based on them. That's based on how we can get our state legislators to urge them to do this. But who knows? We never know what the state could and can and can't do. But just wanted to state that because I don't want to give that negative perception to all those sitting here and those that will be watching on TV later on. But I support this. I think the compromise made for 50% or 51% is good. It gives the state something to work with instead of being a little bit more something that maybe they couldn't handle. So I agree with that. Seems common sense. I support the truth in labeling. I support the 51% blend. So I'm all good. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yoshimoto and Mr. Onishi, if you wanted to say something, can you let me know?
Oh, yeah, when you have a chance, Madam Chair, yes.
Okay. I have Ms. Poindexter now. Ms. Poindexter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say, point well taken to Councilmember Kanuha, because it doesn't stop here. It's a resolution encouraging them. So I just want to let the people know that we need to keep on keeping on, meaning we need to get to the next level and call our state representatives to make sure that they hear our voices. It just doesn't stop here, but we continue. Whoever can get to Oahu when things are being heard or submitting testimony, that we need to continue this fight. So, aloha. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yoshimoto.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I speak in support of this resolution. You know, when you think about truth in labeling, it's really a simple concept. It really comes down to, you know, whether the labeling is accurate or whether it would fool the average or reasonable person from just looking at the label. So, you know, from hearing the testimony, from being through this issue several times now, I'm really surprised and disappointed that the state has failed to act, and hopefully, you know, they'll eventually get the message. This is something that is basic, I think, to what our values are, which is providing accurate information to the public. Sometimes, I guess, in our marketing, people or companies try to do things to take perhaps an unfair advantage, and so this is something that I think is needed. I'm not sold on the 51%. I would leave that to the coffee growers as far as what they believe is enough. I, for myself, have not tried 51% Kona coffee. It's usually either all Kona coffee or it's you know, that usual 10% blend. So, but that distinction we'll leave for another day. But I do support this resolution, and I thank Ms. Ford for bringing this up again. Thank you.
Mr. Iligan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also speak in support of this resolution, and I just want to say thank you to Councilmember Kanuha for clarifying this resolution. The reason why I support this and what really drives me to my decision is the integrity of the brand. And the integrity is, for me, to have that brand 51%. And if the industry decides to have it higher into a, let's say, a super integrity, if there is such a thing, then I would definitely support that. But to be able to have that integrity, I feel is important. So that's why I support this resolution. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments from council members, before I ask the clerk to take the vote, I would just like to say thank you also to the Kona coffee farmers and Ms. Ford for bringing this forward. I definitely support truth in labeling all of our food, and especially to protect the Kona and other Hawaii Island coffees. I would ask you, even though we couldn't get it in the HSAC package this year, to please keep pursuing this, keep us informed so that we can contact the legislature at the appropriate time, and it seems like we could definitely help support the bill at the state level at the proper time. So, Madam Clerk, can you please take the vote?
Sure. Ms. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Iligan?
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha?
Aye.
Mr. Kern?
Aye.
Mr. Onishi? Not here. Absent. Ms. Poindexter?
Aye.
Ms. Willie? Mr. Yoshimoto?
Aye.
Chair Ia?
Aye.
Chair Ia, you have 8 ayes and 1 absent.
Thank you. The resolution is adopted. Madam Clerk,
Madam Chair.
hang on one second. Ms. Ford.
And I would like to move that we suspend the rules regarding Resolution 501 and not hold it for the 5-day period of time, and just immediately get it sent up to the state legislature, so we can hopefully get it on the. Well, we will get it up there, but
Okay.
is
Do
that
we have
possible,
a
ma'am?
second?
So I do move that we suspend the rules.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Ford and second by Mr. Iligan. Madam Clerk, can you please, or is there any discussion on suspending the 5-day holdover? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Ms. Ford? Mr. Iligan?
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha?
Aye.
Mr. Kern?
Aye.
Mr. Onishi still absent. Ms. Poindexter?
Aye.
Ms. Willie? Ms. Yoshimoto?
Aye.
Chair Ea?
Aye.
I'm here. You have 8 ayes. Oh, thank you, Ms.
That was
Onishi.
to suspend the 5-day holdover on the resolution that just passed. Did you want to vote aye on that, Mr. Onishi?
Yeah, aye.
Oh, thank you.
It is.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Kern.
I move to suspend our rules to allow us to do voice votes today, being that we're in council as well as the video conferencing.
Okay. Moved by Mr. Kern and seconded by Ms. Ford. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk.
Ms. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Iligan?
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha?
Aye.
Mr. Kern? Mr. Onishi?
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter?
Aye.
Ms. Willie? Ms. Yoshimoto?
Aye.
Chair Ea?
Aye.
Chair Ea, you have 9 ayes on the suspension of the voice vote.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to skip down to, Ms. Willie, are you suggesting or requesting that